Hi all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be recapping Campfire Cooking in Another World with my Absurd Skill Season 1. This is the fourth and final part of this series, which covers episodes 10 through 12. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to jump into things with episode 10. Upon arriving at the Metal Lizard's cave, Mukouda appraises it and realizes it has evolved into a mithril lizard. Phil thinks it mutated after eating some mithril ore, rendering magic less effective against it. He explains that mithril is light and sturdy and highly compatible with magic. It can easily absorb and diffuse magic attacks. Despite this, Fel easily defeats the monster with his magic. Mukouda sets about collecting some ore, thinking it would make a good weapon and armor. Fel tells him not to waste his time. Nothing is stronger than his barrier. Mukouda manages to grab a few scraps anyway before Fel drags him off because someone's craving bloody hornbull. Spoiler, it's Fel. Fel and Sui quickly defeat them all. After collecting the herd, the adventurers eat some orc and rockbird katsu sandwiches made from the cutlets Mukouda had fried the previous day, and cola, which looks suspiciously like Pepsi. Fel burps mid-meal and tries to act all dignified like it didn't happen. Sure, buddy. Back at the guild, Willem and Johan nearly faint when they see the mithril lizard. Johan dramatically announces, "The last one was seen 400 years ago," which is guild speak for "holy cannolis, you're rich now." Willem realizes this means a shiny new mithril vein was found, which is basically like discovering an oil field in your backyard. Johan explains that mithril ore is a rare metal among rare metals. There are only 3 known mountains where it can be found. Willem says he will have to hand the mithril lizard over to the guild. The city lord will probably want to present the skin as a gift of tribute to the king, along with the news about the newly discovered mithril mine where it was found. Mukouda can expect a large bounty for the completion of the quest and information about the mine. Willem and Johan are shocked when they turn in the bloody hornbull herd as well. Despite worrying his peaceful life is circling the drain, Mukouda celebrates by making bloody hornbull steak for dinner. Fel takes a bite and declares raw meat is dead to him now because Mukouda's cooking is god tier. Sui agrees, happily jiggling like a Michelin-starred slime. Mukouda makes an offering to the greedy Ninrir, only to be confronted by the 3 other goddesses. The goddesses say they are going to bestow their blessings on him in exchange for sweets. Ninrir is salty because they call her stingy for giving Mukouda a baby tier blessing. Then comes the kicker. Mukouda learns he has no wind affinity. Ouch. But Kasharl says, "Don't worry, earth and fire love you." Agni chimes in like an MLM recruiter. 2 blessings and you'll be invincible, capable of casting more powerful spells for less. Ninrir is horrified because the god of creation literally told them to stop passing blessings out like coupons. So the fire and earth goddesses agree to give only minor blessing, which still sounds OP as heck. Mukouda tries to decline, thinking it'd be unfair for him to have more than 1 blessing, but Agni isn't having it. Both Agni and Kasharl bless Mukouda. Since Mukouda has no affinity with water, Rusalka, the goddess of water, knows her blessing won't be very useful to him, and is saddened by the thought that if she doesn't bless him, she'll be the only one without any offering. The other goddesses insist Mukouda do something so she won't be sad, so he offers to have Sui blessed by Rusalka instead. Sui actually has an affinity for water and is blessed, but it's not a minor blessing. Rusalka says it's okay, since she only blesses one person every 100 years or so, while the others bless people every decade. Mukouda promises equal offerings to everyone from now on, and makes a group dessert tray like it's goddess Thanksgiving. To help Sui understand what the blessing means, they decide to test it out the following day, and find out they've both gotten swole. While Mukouda's building an earth magic house like he's on HGTV, Fel goes hunting and returns with a black serpent for Lambert. Marie, Lambert's wife, claims to be thinking about all the bags she has been given by him, and how she may want to give one to her younger sister. Marie claims she has too many bags and accessories, all from him, and doesn't need more. Lambert has an existential crisis because their anniversary is coming, and his gift game is officially dead. Episode 11. Mukouda strolls back into the guild to get the black serpent butchered, pockets some bloody hornbull meat, and grabs his payment like a man casually running errands, except his errands involve mythical creatures. For dinner, he goes full gourmet chef again and whips up bloody hornbull and orc general hamburger steaks, because why settle for one kind of meat when you can make a combo platter? Mukouda presents Lambert with the black serpent skin, who buys it from him for 50 gold coins. Then he asks for Lambert's opinion on modern soap, shampoo, conditioner, and hair products. Would people be interested in these items? Lambert's eyes light up like Christmas in July. Turns out his anniversary is coming up, and his wife is tired of drowning in handbags. She wants something different. Oh, and she loves baths. Cue Mukouda realizing baths exist here, and having a personal epiphany. A tub? I must have one. Civilization is saved. Mukouda leaves Lambert with some samples and comes back the next day, only to be greeted by Lambert and his wife Marie, who looks like she just discovered a new religion. Apparently, she sniffed her husband, noticed he smelled like spa instead of sweaty man, and immediately hijacked the soap and shampoo. Verdict? Obsessed. Marie basically says, "If you don't sell this stuff through Lambert, you're dead to me." Mukouda agrees because he doesn't have a store, and hey, free marketing. He leaves them stocked up like they're opening a medieval Bath and Body Works. Feeling accomplished, Mukouda checks in with Fel and Sui before heading back to the guild, only to learn there's a stray wyvern problem. He goes to the guildmaster for the usual "please don't ruin my peaceful life" chat, and instead Willem drops a 5,800 gold coin payday on him for the mithril mine discovery in recent quest. Mukouda instantly decides, I'm buying the biggest tub this kingdom has ever seen. Before he can celebrate his future bubble baths, the receptionist barges in on their meeting and informs them a wyvern swarm has appeared and started attacking adventurers in the western plain. They all escaped, but many of them were poisoned and badly injured. After seeing the bad shape everyone is in, Mukouda helps by offering some of the high-quality potions Sui crafted. As the situation is being managed, Willem announces that they have to hunt the wyverns. It's an emergency quest from the guild. All adventurers ranked C and up are required to participate. Willem knows everyone must be uneasy, but they must protect the city. It's their duty as adventurers. Before they can head out, Fel appears and asks that the wyverns be left to him. Mukouda panics, but Fel hears, you get to keep what you kill, and suddenly he's more motivated than a dog at a bacon festival. Fel insists the other adventurers don't join in, because they'll get in his way. Willem reluctantly agrees, and Mukouda ends up hiding behind a conveniently placed rock, while Fel and Sui go full aerial demolition team. When Mukouda is attacked by a stray wyvern, his familiars come to the rescue. After the wyverns have been destroyed, both familiars admit to working up an appetite, so Mukouda prepares ground meat cutlets with the leftovers from their previous meal. Meanwhile, across the continent, the other heroes who were summoned with Mukouda are sitting around a campfire, wondering if he's still alive. They think, his stats were garbage. He'd be toast if he was attacked by a great wolf. They recognize they also need to get stronger to defeat the Demon King and return home. They've also heard the rumors of the adventurer with a Fenrir for a familiar, and wish their food didn't taste like sadness. Episode 12. Mukouda strolls back into the guild like a man who just cleared the world's most stressful pest control job, announcing, yeah, about those wyverns, totally extinct now. Willem's face says, wow, but his wallet says, nope. Turns out the guild can't afford to buy all 13 wyverns because apparently, we're broke is a guild motto, but they'll butcher them for free. Generous, right? Oh, and they can only afford half the material. That night, Mukouda remembers his divine sugar daddies, goddesses, are waiting for offering. While browsing like it's an after-hours Amazon spree, the goddesses start blowing up his spiritual DMs with requests for special treatment and extra items. Ninrir is easy. Just give me sweets, big guy. Agni wants booze like your favorite aunt at Christmas. Kushal demands shampoo and soap like she's running a spa empire. And Rusalka, she wants a Michelin star meal straight from Mukouda's kitchen. Mukouda sighs, realizing he's basically a cosmic DoorDash driver now. After making the offering, Mukouda heads into town with his familiars the following day and purchases a tub and carries it out in his item box. Now that they're known for defeating the wyverns, Mukouda lets Fel know he's not as comfortable in town, so they head to the forest. While Fel is out hunting, Mukouda and Sui, being the DIY kings they are, whip up a bathhouse and enjoy a good soak in the brand new tub, like two guys who just scored the ultimate hot spring deal. After their bath, Mukouda decides to prepare some of the wyvern meat and makes a special wyvern gyudon and wyvern stew. Then, Fel returns with an earth dragon he killed. Mukouda enters scolding mode. His inventory looks like a rare monster museum, and Fel just keeps adding exhibits. As they're talking, Fel gets a whiff of the food Mukouda made while he was out hunting and wants to dig in. But Mukouda tells him he's filthy and can't eat until he's cleaned up. Fel, the proud war beast, now looks like a cat being lowered into water. Sui and Mukouda scrub him down while Fel dies inside, then dry him with magic like a giant grumpy Pomeranian. Over dinner, Mukouda drops the bomb. Congrats, Fel, you're getting monthly baths now. Fel glares, but when Sui chirps up about how shiny and fluffy he is, and how much they love it, pride wins. Fel, the murder dog, secretly likes being fabulous. Next day, they try to butcher the earth dragon, but the local butcher takes one look and says, nope, that's above my pay grade. So Willem suggests they go to Dolan. They have a guild master there who knows a lot about dragons and may be able to help. Fel still wants to visit the sea and enjoy some seafood, so they decide to try and butcher the dragon on the way. Mukouda says his goodbyes to all the friends he made in town, is given a reference letter for the guild master by Willem, along with a detailed map. Then, the adventurers set out for Dolan to meet the guild master. After enjoying the wyvern stew Mukouda prepared, his familiars announce that they cannot wait to see what they'll eat next. Mukouda knows he is to blame for turning them into foodies. And there you have it, Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skills Season 1 in a nutshell. What did you think of my recap? Did I leave anything out? Are you as excited for Season 2 as I am? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens think. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll always know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys!